She's just so personable. She lights up a room.
That this dynamic, young, remarkable,
driven, and how she's independent.
Kids were her whole world. Whenever she's with them, it's all about them. As a mom, she's just so attentive and loving.
Y'all, you're gonna need to grab your sippeth from the cuppa, your true crime blanket, your snacks, everything that you need, because today's story about Brian Walshe is going to make most of the true crime things we look at and the perpetrators like pure geniuses. This case has been going on for years, and most recently it is finally going to trial. It was going to go to trial, then there were some delays, it got pushed off, and then all of a sudden, bam, here we are at, and there's already bombshells going off in the jury selection. So what we're gonna be doing today is we're gonna be doing an overview to kind of get everybody on the page of what's this trial, who is Brian Walshe, who is his victim, Anna Walshe, what can we expect, and what bombshells have already gone off. I'll do a few different videos to focus in on certain aspects of the case of the trial. So like I said, you're gonna want that true crime blanket, your coffee, all of the things, and especially this, the seat belt, because you're gonna need to buckle up for today's video.
Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad. Sipping from the cup, hey, hey.
Now hold on everybody, let's do a quick sofa sidebar now. Keep in mind, ain't no cop, ain't no doctor, ain't no lawyer, ain't no therapist, ain't none of that fancy credentialed stuff. Now keep in mind also, I'm just giving my opinions on very public information, so do your own research, come to your own opinions, and drop them off in the comment section. And while you're down there, if you do like what you see here at the Sofa Squad, drop a little like, drop a little comment, drop a little share. It helps the channel out immensely. Now let's get to dishing. All right, Sofa Squad, I'm gonna be putting you on to something a little bit cozy, a little bit classy, and honestly, a little bit bougie, for me at least. What might that be, Paul? Whatever could it be? Well, I'm gonna tell you. It's called Lion's Tea Exchange. Now look, if you've been hanging around on my channel for more than 5 minutes, you already know I love a good warm drink while talking about wildly unhinged true crime cases. And look, this right here, this is that treat yourself, but I also deserve nice things kind of a tea. Lion's Tea Exchange is a woman-owned, Texas-based artisan tea company that does everything with this high-end luxury vibe. They hand-pack every order, nothing is drop-shipped, and every blend is created right here in the USA. Even the tea bags are fancy. I mean, come on. They're pyramid-shaped, they're made in Japan, they're compostable, and they have these long strings that don't disappear into the mug. I don't know, I mean, like they're running away from their problems or something. And look, the tea bags are full of actual tea leaves, not dust. You can even reuse them, which shocked my wallet in a good way, okay? I opened one of them up so you could see what was in there, and I mean, y'all, this was legit, okay? Now, one of the coolest things about Lion's Tea Exchange is that they specialize in functional teas. Basically, tea that does something for you instead of just existing. Ingredients like elderflower, rooibos, green tea, and ginseng all show up in their blends. And that ginseng in their lemon ginseng tea, it's packed with antioxidants, supports brain health, helps your immune system, and might even regulate your mood and focus, which honestly, some of these cases require, okay? Look, they've also got caffeine-free options like raspberry elderflower, rose, apple cider rooibos, peppermint white chocolate, and of course, lemon ginseng. And look, heads up, the winter limited edition flavors are out right now, but those are only until they sell out. We're talking apple cider rooibos, peppermint white chocolate, bourbon barrel chai, y'all, all of these hit so much harder when it's cold outside. You can drink them iced, but yo, I vote for hot, especially September through December. Now, if you want to feel like the main character, check out their wooden keepsake box. It's made in the USA out of 100% birch from a family-owned supplier who, guess what? They plant a tree with every order. Now what you do is you pick 4 Lion Tea Exchange flavors, they engrave the lid, and the dividers come out so you can reuse the box for whatever you want. This is an amazing gift idea, y'all. All the signature blends are amazing too, and you can make them however you want, with milk, without, hot, cold, sugar, whatever you want, okay? They source their teas from farms in China, Nepal, Japan, and India, but everything is blended and packaged here in the States. So what I wanted to do is try some of my go-to flavors with tea. For me, when I drink tea, I am looking for the notes, the flavor, almost like wine, right? So for me, it was the Earl Grey and then the chai, the bourbon barrel chai, but I also threw in that peppermint white chocolate. Y'all, okay, first of all, that peppermint white chocolate, in my mind, I was like, okay, we'll see, but these tea companies hardly ever get that right. Yo, for me, what hit first was the white chocolate flavor, then the peppermint. You could taste each moment, each flavor on your tongue. It all was there. And just like I said a minute ago, I tried it differently. So I did each of them just naked, as I call it, right? Where I didn't put milk or sugar or anything like that in it, just to get the flavors and whatnot. Then I did it how I kind of dress my coffee up and stuff like that, with a little bit of sweetener, a little bit of creamer. Good both ways. But honestly, like I said, with tea, I'm looking to taste each of those individual flavors. I'm looking to have a moment with it and to enjoy and to relax, be on the sofa with the boys, etc., etc. This really did feel like a little gift to myself, right? And again, with it being that season and whatnot, these were amazing gift ideas. I absolutely am in love with this tea, and I think you're gonna enjoy it too. So if you wanna level up your tea game, well, go on, do yourself a favor and go to lionsteaexchange.com. Check out the new limited edition flavors and use code ReportingLive for 10% off your order. Your blankie, your sofa, your taste buds, they're gonna thank you. Hello, Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa. It's a sofa, it's a seatbelt, it's a baby mushroom. And my name is Paul if you're new to the channel. And if you're not new to the channel, my name's still Paul. Okay. So y'all, all right, so what we're gonna be doing. So let's go ahead and start talking about the case in general, and let's get into that overview. So let's talk about the most important person in this case, and that is the victim. That's Anna Walshe. Anna was many things to many different people. She was a beloved daughter, sister, friend, mother to 3 boys. And she also has not been seen since New Year's Day 2023. Now, Anna was a native of Serbia, and she attended the prestigious University of Belgrade and could speak 5 languages. After only a few years in America, she was taking hospitality courses at Cornell University. In 2022, she landed another job of a lifetime, working at the global real estate firm Tishman Speyer. Anna was a brilliant woman whose outer beauty mirrored her inner beauty. So how did Anna, this extraordinary woman, become the victim of Mr. Brian Walshe? Well, tragically, Anna met Brian in 2008 when she was working as a reservations manager at the historic Wheatley Hotel in Lenox, Massachusetts. Now, in an interview with a Serbian newspaper, Anna's mother was quoted as saying, "Anna was hardworking and did not shy away from any job. At first, she also cleaned apartments, and on the recommendation of a friend, she went to clean an apartment for a guy, and that guy was Brian Walshe." Now, in regards to like news sources, things of that nature, there's not tons out there about like what the inner workings of Brian and Anna's marriage behind the scenes, but you can surmise by some of the evidence coming out, what friends have said, and hindsight being 2020, that this definitely is a marriage that should have and probably was going to end in divorce, and Brian was going to be left high and dry looking for his next grift. Now, Anna was like the portrait of success. Not only was she stunning, she had a lot of great qualities about her. She was an amazing mother to 3 boys. She was multilingual, ambitious, dedicated, well-educated, hardworking. Anna did what you had to do to make it, and she proved that. However, Brian was a little bit of a different story. Brian seems to be like a broken man, right? Who had these delusions of grandeur, who was essentially like a lifelong poser, okay? Always trying to hide inadequacies. Now, let's take a little quick look at what some people had to say about him. So on the screen, you're gonna see this picture here with just a few of his little, zingers throughout time, okay, that we'll get to. So he's always trying to show off, look like he was major. This one time he ran up a $6,000 bill, his card was declined, so he left his luxury watch there for collateral and then added another $2,000 on. Another time he ordered a restaurant's entire inventory of truffles. Then you'll see here where he says, "Some say I was a well-behaved kid, but I was entitled. I was not like other young people. I dressed in Armani and penny loafers at age 13. I just wanted the finer things in life." He also is known to insist on having a chef's tasting menu everywhere he went, regardless if it was even offered. Now, in 2018, in a desperate attempt to keep up appearances, he even stole from his own father.
Or Karen Anderson has been covering this case from the very beginning. She has a story tonight for us. Karen.
And Brian Walshe has been indicted for his wife's murder, but he's also involved in a probate dispute. And today that's centered around accusations he stole $500,000 from his late father's estate. Brian Walshe takes a seat in a jailhouse room for a virtual court hearing. Today's virtual hearing was for a probate court dispute. His late father, Dr. Thomas Walshe, died in 2018. Brian is accused of going into his father's home in Hull and destroying his will, then selling his father's art, rugs, jewelry, and a car, and was attempting to sell his home.
What is up with this guy and like fake art, right? And stealing art. Like, it must be a go-to, right? I mean, come on. So that's what you're dealing with there. Okay, so this should come of no surprise how we've ended up where we're getting ready to be on trial for the murder of Anna in just a few days. Now, even more of a telltale sign was something that Brian's father put in the will. In his will, he said, "I hereby bequeath Brian Walshe my best wishes, but nothing from my estate." Now, as far as that trial goes, in November of 2023, it was supposed to go to trial, but it was dismissed at the 11th hour, basically, because the family was like, look, we don't want to spend any more money litigating against him because we know we're not going to get any of the money that he owes us back. It's just costing us more money. Then we, of course, couldn't just leave the old artwork alone at stealing his father's. No. Let's go back to 2021, where he was charged with selling counterfeit Andy Warhol paintings.
It's fascinating to go through what he did. And this is what he did. 2011, as Wayne said, he's visiting a friend in South Korea, and he convinces him that he could take a couple of his Shadows collection from Warhol's 1978 paintings, telling the victim he could sell the art for a good price. Then the victim comes across two paintings purported to be from this collection on eBay for $100,000 with a purchase price, and he's got an invoice for it because he got the invoice from his friend. Then in November of 2016, the buyer negotiates with Walshe and buys them outside of eBay for $80,000. But then the buyer's assistant flies up to Boston to get the paintings, gives a cashier's check to Walshe. He deposits it, takes money out, but then the buyer, a day later, takes a look at the actual paintings when they come back and realizes that they have staples and new canvases and don't have the authentication stamps. Walshe sort of avoids the guy, and it turns out that the original paintings were sold way back in 2011, and he had done the same scam in 2015. Bob Ward, how is this guy just running scams? Is that his career? Is he like a career scammer?
I can answer for him. Yes, he is. Now, total side note here, so a couple of things to pick out from this. Number one, you heard like they were like, what, $100,000, but they went outside of eBay for $80,000. Okay, I haven't bought something off eBay. Yo, I'm talking decades at this point. Now, I used to sell on eBay, and I haven't sold on eBay in not a decade, but like a long time. I know people who make good money doing it still, right? But $100,000 thing on eBay for this very reason why we're right here, right? I'm like, that has scam written all over it. My question to y'all is like, does anybody buy stuff off eBay anymore? And if so, like, what's the vibe? Like, are you buying $100,000 pieces of artwork? Were they real when you got them? But I'm talking even where I'm just like, over $10, I'd be a little bit nervous. I'm like, look, we're gonna need to authenticate those brownie paper towels I just bought off you. I need some authentication. Make sure I'm getting my $10 worth. Okay, now look, times are tough, right? Let alone for a $100,000 deal. Okay, we're dotting I's and crossing T's on the $10 paper towels, honey. You ain't gonna see us buying no Andy Warhols. Now, I'm not trying to say anything for the victim of this particular crime, but it's just like hearing about these worlds we learn about in true crime. Like, this is one of those where I'm just like, somebody's gonna buy $100,000 artwork off that? Like, and how would you make sure that it was the real thing? I guess, like going, flying there, opening it in person, authenticating it right then and there, right? But, you know, it is what it is. And eBay's probably like, this is why we tell you don't go around us. Our hands are clean. Now, Jim Milne, and hopefully I'm saying that name right, this was Anna's former boss and close friend. They were invited to the Walshe home on New Year's Eve. Remember, this is like the night before she goes missing that next morning, right? And they had no idea that this is the last time he was ever going to see Anna alive, let alone ever again.
Well, David, the husband and wife hosted Jem Milne for that New Year's Eve celebration. They cooked, they laughed, they played with the couple's children. He describes an evening here at their home that was completely happy and normal. Now, this friend...
The whole thing is a tragedy, Julie. The whole thing, and disbelief as to
Jem Mutlu may have been the very last friend to hug Anna before she disappeared. He'd been hosted by the Cohasset husband and wife just hours before.
Brian had cooked an elaborate meal for us, and we hugged and celebrated and toasted and just what you do over New Year's, and there was a lot of looking forward to the new year.
Now, did you hear that when he said Brian cooked an elaborate meal for us? You know it was on stolen money, or Anna paid for it. Anna had money, right? She was doing good. Brian pretended to have money. Brian grifted, Brian thrifted, Brian stole. Okay? This is what he did, right? So this just goes in line with the other things that we've heard of, like, you know, these extravagant restaurant situations and whatnot. You already can see the kind of person he would be at a dinner party, right, Brian? You know what I mean? Sitting there being like, pass the caviar. You know, I can already see it right now, right? Now, of course, you know, hindsight's 2020, right? And in cases like these, there's always that first inclination of like, what's going on? Things are blurry until the lens starts to focus in on what's really going on. And usually when a spouse is the perpetrator, or allegedly at this point, right? On some of it, at least half the charges. When the spouse is allegedly the perpetrator on just one of the charges at this point, we should say, things tend to go sideways pretty quick.
But the more that we learned about this missing person case, the more questions we had. There were just some things the police were told that sometime in those next few hours, between 4 and 5 in the morning, Anna had been called for a work emergency, and as she usually did, would have caught a ride to the airport and taken a flight from Logan down to DC to respond to this work emergency. I questioned it in the beginning just because of that timeline, that you would hug a guest goodbye at 1:30 in the morning, and by 4, you'd be packing your work bag and responding to this emergency when the rest of the business world wasn't returning to work until Tuesday. No activity on her cell phone, no activity on her bank cards. The friends that I had spoken to early on described this social, accessible, someone who would snap a picture out the window of her flight as she landed in DC and post that to her Instagram story. So this just complete gone without a trace was completely unlike her. But these friends didn't find out that she hadn't been seen or heard from for 3 days after that.
And did they think that was strange that no one had reported her missing during all that time?
Some of the friends along the South Shore said that she had a demanding job that could be 24/7. But at the same time, she's a mother. We know that she was very devoted to these 3 very young children. And so that was off for some friends, that she wouldn't be calling to check in with the kids all day Sunday, all day Monday, all day Tuesday. Then it was on Wednesday that the husband, Brian Walshe, started to make calls to friends of theirs saying, have you seen Anna? Have you heard?
It was on Wednesday he started making calls. Cannot roll my damn eyes hard enough at that. I mean, Captain Obvious here, right? Now, we're going to be getting into some of the other stuff here in a minute with evidence and all that kind of stuff, but, you know, just, it is what it is. And this is one of the things we see in these cases. And as you heard her say in the interview, like, where Anna was known to be, like, socially acceptable, and not mean, like, socially accessible, socially acceptable, you know what I'm saying? Socially accessible. She's putting pictures here, she's doing this. So when someone's behavior pattern shifts, right? And now keep in mind, most of the time, if you think about situations you're in, especially if there's no signs of like tumultuousness coming from like a relationship of friends you know, or family or whatever, you're not expecting someone you know to go missing and then it turn into a murder case, right? This is usually not on our radar unless something really weird's going on, but that was not going on in this scenario. So again, what would have been odd in hindsight, it's just like they're saying, where it's like, well, you know, she has the boys and like she's usually like, you know, whatever, but so that was odd. But again, you're not expecting that Brian allegedly killed her and, you know, got rid of her body. That's just not going to even be a thing, right? But then when you start seeing like, well, why wouldn't he have reported her missing? Like, that's completely weird, okay? When these people, and when I say these people, I mean like victims in the cases we watch, when their significant others or their, direct family members who are dealing with it, whatever, when they're not reporting them missing, this is a major red flag, okay? Major red flag, especially when it's the spouse who ends up having done it. That's just major, 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 major. Look at Chris Watts, right?
I just hope they come home soon.
He's just like slowly coming back to the house to check when the police are called there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, that's not normal. And you would think that the perpetrators would think through that, or you oftentimes will have the scenario where they did think through it, but they went over the top with it, where it's just like they're, thrashing around, oh my God, they're never coming home. It's like, honey, they've been missing for 30 minutes. Why would you say that? You know what I'm saying? Like why are we going to this extreme? It's a fine line. The reason it's a fine line is because I'm talking about people who end up being convicted of the crime and the evidence comes out. It's a fine line because they did it, right? A normal scenario where you are a person who your person or whatever family member goes missing, there's going to be a chain of events that take place that make you say, what's up? How did we arrive here? Now, here's the thing. Once they start going to Brian and whatnot, it's only 4 days, after this whole thing takes place that he starts talking to law enforcement, that they arrest him and they hit him with charges at first on hindering their investigation. Well, then more and more evidence will come out.
Let's do this. Let's take a listen to some of the evidence that prosecutors believe they have in this case.
Mr. Walshe had told the babysitter that he and his wife initially were going to go out for a late brunch, New Year's Day brunch that day. But then he told the babysitter that Anna Walshe had returned to Washington, D.C. That morning at approximately 6 a.m. for a work emergency, and that he needed to visit his mother in Swampscott, and asked the babysitter to stay. He had also told the babysitter and the family friend that he had lost his phone, and he had told the family friend that he had felt somewhat free having lost his phone. Subsequent analysis of his phone determined that it was actually plugged in the morning of January 1st. At that time, where the phone is showing that it's at Lowe's in Danvers, the defendant walks into Lowe's in Danvers by himself on store surveillance video. He is seen purchasing numerous items, including 5 Lowe's 5-gallon buckets, a Lennox high-tension hacksaw, 48 terry cloth towels, a framing hammer, Tyvek full-coverage suit, shoe guards, mop, snips, 200 disposable rags, trash bags, Murphy oil soap, and other cleaning products. It then travels to CVS in Danvers, where Mr. Walshe is again seen on video by himself purchasing 13 different types of hydrogen peroxide. It then travels to Stop and Shop in Swampscott, where Mr. Walshe can be seen buying 3 64-ounce jugs of ammonia. From 2 a.m. to approximately 5:30 a.m., the oldest child's iPad searched and visited websites concerning instructions on how to clean blood and DNA from objects, how to remove SIM cards from phones, how to mix ammonia, and search for apartment complex in Brockton, Massachusetts. At 8 a.m., the babysitter returned to the Walshe residence. Mr. Walshe left the residence that morning and is on surveillance at Home Goods in Norwell, purchasing 3 area rugs and scented candles. The babysitter would state that by the end of the week, she had noticed that the downstairs area rugs had been replaced, as well as a kitchen trash can. On the afternoon of the 3rd, Mr. Walshe visited 3 different apartment complexes in Abington and 1 in Brockton. Video from these complexes captured Mr. Walshe in the area of the dumpsters for 3 of these complexes. One video showed him looking into a dumpster and not putting anything into it. A second captures him taking items from his SUV by the area of the dumpster. And then the third depicts Mr. Walshe depositing a bag that appears to be heavy into the dumpster.
I have pause. The cringe, the bafflement, the shock is so extreme, I need to collect myself. Even Luke's over there. He's like, what's going on? I'm scared. He doesn't even know what to say. He's shocked too. Come on, it's okay. It's safe. Brian Walshe isn't here, y'all. Come on over here. Y'all. Now, you see, and we'll talk more about this in a minute, but you see why he pled guilty to a couple of these charges. Now, we're going to do a little preemptive of this, but we'll talk more about it later. So during jury selection, Brian chose to change his plea, and he pleaded guilty to disposing of the body, basically, and lying to cops. Now, he says he's innocent of the murder, right? This evidence right here is bad, okay? Like there's no getting out of this kind of evidence, right? Where did he not stop and shop? Okay, that's the shorter list, okay? How is Walmart not on the list with this one, right? It's almost worse. It's almost like he was like, I won't go to Walmart, but I'll go to every other store in town and buy the most craziest stuff. You know, I just had this thought sitting here thinking about it. You know what I think he was doing? I think he was like, I can't buy all this stuff at the same place because that would look bad, right? So he was like, I'll go and get like the ammonia from somewhere else.
On January 4th at 10:04 a.m., the person that Mr. Walsh had texted the day before responds to him and asks if he has heard from Anna. 10 minutes later, Mr. Walsh then calls the building that Anna Walsh worked at in D.C. and reports her missing. 5 minutes after that, he texts back to the friend and says,
purchasing of these products just out of the blue.
Out of the blue, and I think he's wearing a device, an ankle device, because he's still away. He's on house arrest for the federal charge, so they know exactly where he's going. And if they don't, he lied about at some points that he was saying he was over here when he was actually over there. No, it's all very damning. But one of the main things here to remember is that the Commonwealth is going to try to prove a first-degree murder case without a body. Now, it's not impossible, and you hear much of this evidence, and it seems overwhelming, but they would really like to have the body. And the reason that they're saying that there's no body is that the dumpsters that he used were in two different parts of the state. The ones in the southern part of the state where he was seen dumping that heavy bag, the bag containing something heavy, and he struggled with it, that went to an incinerator near Cape Cod. All of that stuff is gone. But the dumpsters that were on the North Shore up near his mother's house, the police were able to find some of those items.
Okay, let's stop there. I totally forgot, or I haven't gotten to it yet, whatever, but we'll talk about it now. The fact that he was wearing the ankle monitor. I can't, y'all. The lack of self-awareness in this is insane to me. Now let's go to the courtroom to one of the preliminary hearings and let's look at a couple of clips of this and talk about that.
At night, did you have the opportunity to look into any of the vehicles again?
Yes.
Which vehicle?
The Volvo XC90.
And the Volvo XC90, who gave you permission to look into it?
Mr. Walsh.
And what was noticed as far as anything inside what did you notice about the Volvo that night on the 5th?
Inside was a receipt from Lowe's dated the 4th.
Now, what did the defendant tell you as far as his whereabouts on January 1st, 2023?
He was home.
And did he leave the home at any time?
Yes.
Where did he go?
He went to Shaw's to get orange juice and milk.
And once he went to Shaw's and got those items, where did he go?
He returned home.
Did he leave the home again on January 1st?
Yes.
Where did he say he went?
To visit his mother at 330 Paradise Road in Swampscott.
Did he say what happened on his way to Swampscott?
He got lost.
And during this interview, did anyone ask him about the name Richard Walker?
Yes.
Who asked about Richard Walker?
Trooper DeChico.
And did he know Richard Walker?
No.
What was the significance to you at this point in time of the name Richard Walker?
I had received an email with a ransom request from an email address with the name Richard Walker.
And when had you received this email in relation to the interview that you were conducting with the defendant at this point in time on January 7th?
We have the so-named Anna Walsh with us here. We had a deal worth $127,000. She messed up. We have her here with us, and if she doesn't pay the money, then she'll never be back. And we know that the police and the FBI are
mentioning
involved.
that name once, was there any further discussion of Richard Walker or the substance or even the substance of the email?
No.
Couple of things. First of all, we have the token fake ransom letter, okay, or email, whatever you want to call it. All things are present in this case so far, right? And leading up to this trial. Now, also, you heard in the beginning where they found the receipt from Lowe's in his car. I can't, right? It's like when we talk about these crimes, And we talked about this in the live chat over in the podcast channel. If you want to watch these hearings with us live in the trial and all that kind of stuff on the podcast channel, we do that over there. Okay, so when we were watching this, we were talking about, you know, if you almost want to break it down to two different types of crimes: premeditated, true first degree, we were planning this out, we're doing this, versus spur of the moment, passion, think, you know, you came home and found your person in bed with somebody else, you lose it, you kill somebody. You have to, oh God, what do we do? How do I get away with this? Versus, I'm going to be running out of money and this person is worth a lot and insurance. Let's cash in on them. Okay. So you would think the obvious one would be the person planning it out would be way more like, you know, okay, this is how we'll do it and this is what we'll do. But so many times they're just completely an idiot. Then the crime of passion person, you're like, okay, well, that person's just like randomly at the spur of the moment killing somebody. So then it's like, well, you have to pick up the pieces of the evidence at that point, right? I don't know yet with all of this how pre-planned and like where he lays or like where this case is on the spectrum of things. We know that she was seeing another man in DC, okay? We know that she was headed towards leaving him, okay? We also know that Brian was getting ready to do some prison time for the financial crimes. So he was getting ready to go away. She was going to get custody of the kids. She was already seeing a dude. She was on to Brian, okay? She was like, this dude's a loser, right? Now, publicly, maybe people didn't see this too much, but all things are present. So what I'm getting at is in my opinion, Brian knew his gig was up, right? He's going to prison. She's going to meet somebody, kids, all the whole 9 yards. She was his meal ticket. So if he was going to go down a pre-planned level, how stupid can you be, right? All the Google searches he did on the kid's iPad, like maybe he thought he was hiding it, like they wouldn't look into it. But the level of just absurdity and the lack of wherewithal and planning is shocking to me, as well as just the lack of true crime knowledge. Right? You would think if you're planning to kill someone or you just killed somebody, you would literally be like, okay, how do I do this? What do I do? I know that, you know, from basic stuff, there's cameras everywhere. I need to be very careful with my phone and what I do on it and like be very hyper vigilant. Not Brian, right? Not Brian at all. Didn't slow him down a bit. He's going to look up very specific things. How long till a body starts smelling? You know, how about this? Let's go buy ammonia. Let's use our credit card. Let's do it on video. Let's keep the receipt in the car. Let's put plastic liner in the trunk. I mean, come on.
And what did the oldest child tell you about about what he remembers as the last time he saw his mother, Anna Walsh?
What the child stated was that the last time he saw his mother was surrounded around the events of him hearing a noise, waking up, coming downstairs, and seeing her on the couch underneath his blanket, which he left in the room overnight. She was dressed in a set of pink pajamas with red hearts. And as he was walking by the kitchen island, he saw his iPad. He picked up the iPad, recognized that it was malfunctioning or broken, not working properly, and he requested that his mom, Anna, fix the iPad for him. Once she fixed the iPad, he indicated that Anna went upstairs and changed into her real clothes, returning back downstairs, holding a brown duffel bag approximately 2 feet in length and a purse which he gestured to her wearing on her shoulder. He then stated that her taxi was here. He told her, "I love you." She responded, "I love you more." And she walked out the door to her ride. When asked if he saw the vehicle, saw the headlights for the vehicle, or saw her get into the vehicle, he stated he did not. Those are strictly his speculations. Obviously, he didn't use the word speculation, but.
Now, what will be interesting about this is what comes out with this kind of evidence and like, were people told what to say? How did this go? And also exactly what took place with this, right? Because what we know is that the kids were home during the crime, okay? And at some point, somewhere in this window of time, and again, this is alleged at this point, but she was murdered, right? And her body was subsequently disposed of over the next whatever period. And most likely prepared maybe at the house while the kids were home as well. I'm not 100% sure exactly how that went. I think evidence will show us, the court will show us as well. So the other part to this as well is that there's 3 children here, right? And there's 3 kids who, I mean, they're getting older, right? I mean, this has been a few years already at this point, or a couple of years. So it's like, imagine going through that, and then as you get older and realizing like, wait a minute. And again, this is like, if Brian, you know, is officially found guilty, Brian has pleaded to disposing of Anna's body, okay? So imagine going through that and putting the pieces together of like, well, wait a minute, that night, this was going on in my house. Now, at this time of the recording, which again, this is before the trial starts, we're not sure how Brian's defense will change now that he's pled guilty to a couple of things. You know, because essentially what it looks like to me in my unprofessional way is that he's going to come through and somehow either say, I found her body, I freaked out, I disposed of it. Yeah, but he's saying he didn't kill her. What if he tries to blame the kids? Oh, the kid did this or what? Who knows at this point? Anything's possible with Brian. I don't think there are any limits for him. I think he would throw anyone under the bus, including his children.
At 4:55 a.m. on January 1st, he searched how long before a body starts to smell. At 4:58 a.m., how to stop a body from decomposing. At 5:20 a.m., he searched how to embalm a body. At 5:47 a.m., 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to. At 6:25 a.m. on the 1st, how long for someone to be missing to inherit. At 6:34 a.m. on the 1st, can you throw away body parts? At 9:29 a.m., what does formaldehyde do? At 9:34 a.m. on the 1st, how long does DNA last? At 9:59 a.m., can identification be made on partial remains? At 11:34 a.m., dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body. At 11:44, how to clean blood from wooden floor. At 11:56 on the 1st, luminol to detect blood. At 1:08, what happens when you put body parts in ammonia? At 1:21 p.m., is it better to throw crime scene clothes away or wash them?
Honestly, I'm surprised at this point that they don't have video camera of him, like pretend it's like this. They're like, okay, what, 12:56, he's on at Lowe's Hardware, he's on this aisle, you see him right there, he has the cart. This is the ammonia aisle, and he's Googling what happens to a body part when you put ammonia in it. I mean, it's this bad, right? It's this bad. Like, the man is documenting the crime through this. It's almost like this, like, you know that show we watched, the documentary, The Perfect Neighbor, about Miss Owens who was murdered by the crazy neighbor Susan, how that was shown and told through body cam footage. It's almost like you're watching Brian's crimes told and shown through camera footage and Google searches and phone searches and whatnot. And let's do this real quick. Let's just look at these lists and put them on the screen here. So first we have Lowe's. Here's the little clip of him. He's at the thing. Look at this list, y'all. 5 5-gallon buckets, a Lennox high-tension handsaw, 48 terry cloth towels, framing hammer, Tyvek full coverage suit, shoe guards, mops, snips, 200 disposable rags, trash bags, Murphy oil soap, other cleaning products. Then next, Home Depot, bam, right there on camera. January 2nd, the second day, so he wasn't done with whatever. 3 5-gallon buckets with leak-proof lids, a hatchet that sends shivers down my spine personally, plastic sheeting, 24 pounds of baking soda, a Tyvek suit. I mean, y'all. So Brian was arrested for misleading investigators. 2 months later, a grand jury indicts Brian on first-degree murder, misleading police, and improper conveyance of a body. Now, like I said, on the day of jury selection, he starts off with, you know, hey, I'm going to change my plea to guilty on the conveyance of the body charge and the, you know, lying to cops or whatever. But I'm going to maintain my innocence over here. So that's where we stand, right? They've seated the jury. Today is November 22nd. So opening statements are December 1st. We're going to see where this goes. We're going to follow it. And for the main channel, what I'll do is I'll cover like highlights of it or whatever. If you want to watch it and stream it with us on a daily basis, that'll be over on the podcast channel. And we'll do live chats to talk about it, etc., right? So here's the thing, and again, this is my personal opinion. I do not know these people. I don't know them at all. So there's that. I think that Anna had moved on. She was wised up to Brian. She was sick of his stuff, but this was the father of her children, right? She probably tried to make it work for a very long time. She's going to DC. She's doing this. She meets Mr. whoever, right? We'll learn more about him later. She meets a dude, probably more on her level, and she's seen him. She's dating him. She's this. Well, Brian's over here getting charges for stealing and doing this and doing that, getting ready to do some prison time. She was moving on. She was getting rid of Brian. Imagine what daily life it was like with Brian. Someone like him who is a pathological liar, etc., etc. Now, one thing that Brian will rely on is that, you know, he had a rough childhood. He was abused. He was this and that, and right? And so this has led to like some of his behavior or whatever, okay? So she probably felt sorry for him on some level and tried to work with him. And obviously it's different once you have kids with somebody. You're going to kind of be trapped with this person on some varying level, even if you're not living together. This is, you know, the parent of your child. Like, you have made a child together. So she was always going to be stuck with this man on some level. So I think she moved on, and I think he saw this. And again, she made a lot of money. She was a very successful woman. She worked her way up from the top, and she had the fruits of her labor to show for it, and he loved that lifestyle. And without her, he wasn't going to have it. He was going to have to rely on his grifting and have to rely on his stealing to accomplish all of this stuff. He couldn't have her go, right? She was going to take everything. Think of family annihilators when like whatever happens and they can't live up to it, they kill everybody in the family. They'll oftentimes leave one thing, Alec Murdoch, right? So, you know, these cases like this are just, they're shocking, but also in this, he didn't kill the kids, so he's not technically like a family annihilator, but I think she had to go, and at a certain point, she was worth more dead to him, okay? But obviously, this is not the world's smartest criminal at all. Now, I want to end this off on one of Anna's Instagram posts that shows just kind of like, you know, her mindset, like who she was, etc., etc. I'll put it up here on the screen. We'll read through it. So it says, my dream came true with my very first job in the U.S. back in 2005 at the legendary #The Inn at Little Washington in Virginia, where I worked alongside some of the most talented and passionate hospitality professionals. So many aspects of the positions I held in the beginning did not include any glamorous tasks: making beds, cleaning toilets, polishing glasses, setting up tables, serving bread, and often resulted in working up to 16 hours per day. I now, sometimes 15 years later, reap the benefits of the work ethic, discipline, and endurance, and cherish memories of the journey like no other. And that's what I'm talking about. You can see this with what she did. I mean, I'm very impressed and very like, wow, by this. Not only was she this beautiful person on the outside, but an even more beautiful person on the inside. And sadly, her life intersected with Brian Walshe, and he would be the demise of her beauty, of her inner light. So there you go. That is a general overview of the case that's coming up and some of the highlights and what to expect. And like I said, I'll do some videos along the way, and I'll do a couple of more pinpointed ones about like specifically the evidence coming up and etc., etc. So if you're still listening, I greatly appreciate it. I know this is a longer video. If you could, let me know what you think in the comment section. And while you are down there, drop some little sofas, drop some little pillows off for Rosco in spirit, Bo, who's staring at Rosco in spirit, Luke, who's on the heating pad, myself, and you, the most important, the Sofa Squad. The channel would not be here without you. I greatly appreciate it. And until we all gather down there in that old comment section with Bo, with Luke, with everybody here to do all that stuff we talked about, I'll see y'all soon.
I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now, don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Rosco on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.
Welcome to the Sofa Squad, sipping from the cup that hey, come laugh with the Sofa Squad. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough.